In mid-2020, the World Economic Forum, or WEF, co-hosted a global cyber attack simulation with Sberbank, Russia's largest bank. This gave rise to speculation that a global cyber attack was imminent. This speculation rose higher in mid-2021 when the WEF and Sberbank co-hosted a second cyber attack simulation. A third simulation was set to occur in mid-2022, but was postponed by the war in Ukraine. Now, this video is the second of a two-part series about the WEF's cyber attack simulations. Today's video will summarize Polygon 2021 and discuss whether the Ukraine war will result in a global cyber attack. Okay, let's start with a super quick recap. Polygon is an annual cyber event hosted by Bizone, a cybersecurity subsidiary of Sberbank. Polygon partnered with the WEF sometime in 2019 or 2020 to co-host all future Polygon events. The WEF's own cyber initiative began in 2018. The WEF's partnership with Bizone comes from the close relationship between Sberbank CEO Hermann Greff and WEF founder and chairman Klaus Schwab. Russian President Vladimir Putin was also a young global leader of the WEF and became the leader of his country like other young global leaders have. Like Polygon 2020, Polygon 2021's key partners were the WEF, IBM and INTERPOL. And the 2021 edition was almost twice as large as the 2020 edition, with 200 participants from 48 countries and 7 million viewers from 78 countries. Most participants, again, chose to remain anonymous. Whereas the theme of Polygon 2020 was a so-called digital pandemic, the theme of Polygon 2021 was a supply chain cyber attack. The website for the 2021 event specifies that, quote, "A single vulnerable link is enough to bring down the entire system, just like the domino effect." Like Polygon 2020, the full stream for 2021 can be found on Bizone's YouTube channel. I'll leave a link to the full stream in the description, but again, I will caution that it's almost 6 hours long. I'll also leave a link to an article Unlimited Hangout published the day before the event. Now, Polygon 2021 began with opening remarks from Hermann Greff, the CEO of Sberbank. Hermann explained that Bizone chose the theme of supply chain cyber attacks because of all the supply chain disruptions caused by the pandemic restrictions. The first speaker was Mikhail Mishustin, the Prime Minister of Russia, the second in command. Mikhail explained that it's been 4 years since the first Polygon event. This is strange because the first Polygon only took place in 2019. I couldn't find any evidence about older events online. In any case, Mikhail thanked all the big tech companies and big banks that participated in the 2021 event, some of whom were not named as participants on the website, such as Microsoft. Mikhail also revealed that the event was scheduled to coincide with the anniversary of the first manned spaceflight. He went on to proclaim that digital inequality must be eliminated and that he plans to make sure that everyone in Russia has an internet connection by 2030. Mikhail also celebrated the recent creation of a working group on cybersecurity by the United Nations. Now, if you watched the first part of this two-part series, you might recall that one of Russia's top prosecutors had called on the United Nations to establish a working group on cybersecurity. It looks like this was done in March 2021, and I must say these international organizations are moving quickly. On that note, the second speaker was Ernst Stavro Blofeld, Klaus Schwab. Klaus said he was happy to speak at the event for a second year and said that the WEF is proud of its partnership with Russia. This doesn't seem to be the case anymore. For one thing, no Russians attended this year's Davos conference. Klaus went on to explain that cybersecurity is the foundation for the WEF's future of digitization and that digital ecosystems must be expanded. He then said it's necessary to make digital equivalents of a pharmaceutical procedure which I shall not name on YouTube. This comment went viral, of course. How ironic. Anyways, once Klaus was done, the mic was handed to Alexander Tushkanov, the host of the event. Alexander was last year's host too, and he said the same thing. A cyber attack simulation will be taking place in real time at the Sberbank headquarters with Byzone employees and event participants. This time, however, Alexander revealed that the event itself was the target of a distributed denial of service or DDoS attack shortly after it began. This begs the question of who it was, and the answer is probably someone who doesn't like the WEF. I imagine that list is growing longer by the day. Anywho, the third speaker to take the virtual stage was none other than Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple. I must admit that I was surprised to see Steve there, given that he's more of a libertarian. It seems that Steve was surprised by the event as well, and that's because of Alexander's questions. Alexander asked Steve about data, and Steve said that he's proud that Apple doesn't share user data like other big tech companies do. Alexander asked Steve about AI, and he said he's not all that impressed by it. Bear in mind that this was back in 2021. I'm sure Steve's opinions on AI may have changed since ChatGPT. Now, Alexander also asked Steve about digital ID. Steve said something along the lines of, "I don't like it at all, but I know it's inevitable, and I hope it's done in a way that protects user privacy." Steve went on to say that he hates authoritarianism and loves freedom, but somehow simultaneously loves Russia. Cognitive dissonance in action. The fourth and fifth speakers were Roger Halbherr, Chief Security Advisor at Microsoft, and Igor Lyapunov, Vice President for Information Security at Rostelecom, Russia's largest digital services provider. The moderator was Bloomberg journalist Ryan Chilcote, and the topic was the future of cyber. Igor revealed that governments have better cybersecurity than most private companies. Roger seemed to agree, but he said this has changed ever since the pandemic began. That's because there was a huge spike in cybercrime that put private companies on their toes. The discussion then got interesting when Ryan asked the panelists about deepfakes. Igor said that there's currently no interest in deepfakes and the only use he sees for them is entertainment. He added that it would take around 2 to 3 years for deepfakes to become any kind of threat. Roger took the opposite angle by predicting that deepfakes will make it possible to orchestrate, quote, attacks that we have never seen before. If you watched our recent video about deepfakes in warfare, you'll know both chaps were completely correct in their predictions. The discussion got even more interesting when Ryan asked about cyber attacks from Russia. Igor argued that cybercrime has no nationality, and this is because many organized cybercrime groups are diverse. Roger revealed these groups initially agreed not to target healthcare infrastructure, initially being the key word. Regarding cryptocurrency's use in cybercrime, both panelists conceded that it's made it easier for cybercriminals to make money, but also admitted that it's easier to track crypto transactions due to their transparency. Regarding the future of cybersecurity, Igor said that the Terminator movie will become a reality because of AI. Roger once again took the opposite angle by predicting that technology will become ever more decentralized. I completely agree. Now, the 6th, 7th, and 8th speakers were Mark Barnett, the President of Mastercard Europe, Matthew Dill, the Senior Vice President of Visa, and Alexei Zabotkin, Deputy Governor of the Bank of Russia. The moderator was the WEF's Head of Financial Systems, and the topic was cryptocurrency. Now, I'll refer to each panelist by their organization to make the discussion easier to understand and explain. So, Visa said that crypto will be a part of the future and that there's lots of innovation in cryptocurrency. Visa said that they see stablecoins as setting the standards for central bank digital currencies or CBDCs. Visa also revealed the Ethereum trial with USDC payments in March 2021 included CBDC elements. I take this as further confirmation that Circle is positioning its stablecoins to become so-called synthetic CBDCs. You can learn more about that using the link in the description. Anyhow, as for Mastercard, they said that digital currency use is rising, but insisted they're not against cash use. Mastercard also said that CBDCs and stablecoins are the only actual digital currencies. Mastercard predicts that digital payments will be different from the payments we're used to today. Bank of Russia said that crypto regulations are required and confirmed that they're working on a digital ruble. The Bank of Russia is skeptical about stablecoins and is concerned that they will result in the creation of a separate financial system. Well, I guess they missed the memo that this is the purpose of crypto. All that's needed is the creation of a truly robust and decentralized stablecoin, among a few other things. But that is a topic for another time. Now, believe it or not, but the 9th and 10th speakers were Russian astronauts who were tuning in from the International Space Station. They didn't say anything worth repeating, though. Perhaps speaking with Russian astronauts in space was on the bucket list for the Sberbank employees. The 11th, 12th and 13th speakers were Craig Jones, Cybercrime Director at Interpol, Michael Daniels, CEO of Cyber Threat Alliance, and Teresa Walsh, Global Head of Intelligence at FS-ISAC, the organisation that was the focus of that aforementioned article. The topic was combating ransomware. Craig explained that cybercrime has evolved during the pandemic. Michael said that cybercrime is becoming more organised and disruptive. Teresa took the hat-trick by saying that cybercriminals will be targeting the financial system next. Yikes. If that wasn't spooky enough, Craig explained that Interpol has been working on additional cyber attack simulations with Ukraine. Michael also said that crypto regulation is required to mitigate cybercrime. Teresa again took the hat-trick by shilling something called the Zero Trust model. Not to be confused with zero knowledge in cryptocurrency, Zero Trust is one of many WEF buzzwords. It apparently means, quote, a principle-based model designed within a cybersecurity strategy that enforces a data-centric approach to continuously treat everything as an unknown. It's not clear what exactly Zero Trust entails in practice, but it was something that was frequently referenced as a solution to the issue of cybercrime by Polygon panelists. I would say this is a sign that it's something not good for you and me, but, well, perhaps I'm being too pessimistic. Now, the next panel included an additional 4 panelists, bringing the total to 16. These were Chris McCurdy, the Vice President of IBM Security, Dorrit Dorr, the Vice President at Checkpoint Software Technologies, Kevin Simzer, Chief Operating Officer of Trend Micro, and Eugene Kaspersky, CEO of Kaspersky. Besides all the blabbering about Zero Trust, there isn't really anything worth repeating. Surprising, I know. It was certainly surprising for Jürgen Stock, the Secretary-General of Interpol, who spent lots of time pushing the WEF's 4th Industrial Revolution during Polygon 2020. This time around, he didn't have much to say, nor did Peter Maurer, the President of the Red Cross. On second thoughts, Peter did spend quite a lot of time talking about so-called misinformation, disinformation, and hate speech. He argued that governments need to crack down on all 3, and if you watched our video about online censorship, you'll know they're already on it. The 19th and 20th speakers were Andrei Vorobyov, director at a Russian organization whose name I can't pronounce, and Mandy Carver, a senior vice president at ICANN, which provides domain-related infrastructure for the entire internet. The topic was global internet regulation. Mandy repeated what the ICANN guy said at the 2020 event, specifically that the organization looks at the correlations between domain names and crime and forwards this information to the appropriate authorities. She pondered whether it's possible to enforce real-world laws in cyberspace. Meanwhile, Andrei revealed that there's technically no official definition of what the internet is. Now, this got me wondering whether we're going to see a similar lack of concrete definitions in cryptocurrency in the future. Let's hope that's not the case, because it's going to cause a lot of confusion. Now, the 21st speaker was Henrietta H. Fore, the director of UNICEF. The topic was cyberbullying, which is a bit of an odd topic to discuss at a cybersecurity conference. It does make a bit more sense when you realise that all the calls for making the internet more secure for children are an excuse for more control. Now, the final speaker was Stanislav Kuznetsov, the chairman of Sberbank. He thanked the WEF, IBM and Interpol for helping put together Polygon 2021. He explained that the ongoing simulation would continue and conclude the next day because it would last for a full 24 hours, as in a non-stop 24 hours. As with Cyber Polygon 2020, Byzone published the results of the 2021 cyber attack simulation. The difference is that the 2021 report did not contain a detailed breakdown of how the participants did. It only provided a single paragraph which suggests the participants did even worse than the previous year. So, this brings me to the elephant in the room, which is the war in Ukraine. As I mentioned in the introduction, another Cyber Polygon event was supposed to happen in 2022. Funnily enough, it was announced in February, shortly before Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The theme of Cyber Polygon 2022 was going to be a cyber attack on cloud services, which would affect, quote, finance, retail, healthcare, transportation, commodities, public organizations, and more. The event was supposed to occur on the 8th of July 2022, but the page for the event has since been taken down. In May last year, Byzone announced on Twitter that Cyber Polygon had been postponed indefinitely, presumably because of the war in Ukraine. What's scary is that Byzone has since been tweeting about cyber attack scenarios with the hashtag #YouMayBeNext, often tagging INTERPOL in the tweets. What's even scarier is that Russia reportedly disconnected most of its internet from the rest of the world in March last year. This suggests that Russia could execute a cyber attack on the global internet without affecting itself or other isolated internet networks like those in China. The catalyst for such an unprecedented attack would obviously be an escalation of the war in Ukraine, and it just so happens that the war in Ukraine appears to be escalating. Western countries have now started sending tanks, and there are preliminary discussions to send fighter jets as well. Strategically speaking, a massive cyber attack would be an ideal alternative to using nuclear weapons, and indeed a cyber attack could arguably do a lot more damage than a nuclear weapon. The difference is that it's possible to undo the damage of a cyber attack. If you use a nuclear weapon, there's no way back. As such, it's safe to assume that a cyber attack is higher up on Russia's retaliation list than nuclear weapons, especially because it's an area that the country also happens to be quite proficient in. This begs the question of what would happen after this cyber attack, and the answer is exactly what the WEF wants. Now, consider that every time there's been a disruption to the internet due to some crisis, Elon Musk has stepped in by offering internet via SpaceX's Starlink service. I couldn't help but notice that Turkey recently declined Elon's offer to provide Starlink to areas that were affected by the tragic recent earthquake. Now, call me crazy, but I think that Turkey did this because it's aware that allowing Starlink to set up shop means that it would lose control of the internet in that region to SpaceX indefinitely. You need look no further than all those Starlinks that were sent to Ukraine. You can be pretty sure that citizens won't be going back to the regular Ukrainian internet once the war is over. Put simply, it looks like the people in power are using a series of successive crises to get everyone on the same internet. An internet that is not hosted on Earth where it can be hacked, but from space where it can't even be touched. An internet where everyone is registered and everything is monitored. Am I saying Elon is in on this? Honestly, I don't know, and I don't think it matters. If the internet is taken down by some cyber attack, Starlink will be the only alternative. If Elon is on our side, then he could become an enemy in the eyes of those who want control. Now, with all that said, there is a silver lining to this situation, and that's that it will always be possible for people here on Earth to recreate new internets using peer-to-peer networks. This will be easier said than done, but it is possible, and it will be done if this is the path that the people in power decide to take. Never forget that there's more of us than there are of them. If we work together to fight for freedom, we will always achieve it, because our collective brain power will always be greater than theirs. It's simple mathematics, and though it may take some time for the equation to play out, the outcome is inevitable. So please do remember to like, subscribe, and share this video before you leave, and I hope I'll see you all in the next one.